Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're watching this. Here it feels like really early morning, though it's not. I think it's almost noon. But pwah, so much happening. Uh, yeah, it's not sure. I don't know if you ever experienced this. Um, if you ever did like plant medicine or a retreat or a long period of deep meditations, or maybe you just had like I don't know, a huge awakening suddenly, spontaneous, maybe a regression moment, near death experience. I don't know. Yeah. But then the moment after, when you have like this huge breakthrough, uh, then yeah, I notice right now my system is in a sort of integrating state. I feel really tired, like doing nothing all day is really preferred. And yeah, rainy season here clearly is like almost done. That's why the red face. When I drive my scooter, I usually don't wear a helmet, and yeah, I think I got some burn. Sometimes make the funny remark when they ask where you're from, and then I say, "Can't you see? Belanda Panggang." Belanda means from Holland, and Panggang is roasted. Whoa. Yeah, I was talking with a friend who is going through the divorce, and yeah, right now, these past few weeks, we really connected very deeply. I could even say beyond the person, beyond the soul, more like on the self capital S level, or the being, your being, your spirit, whatever you want to call it. I mean, all these labels, they're just pointing to that which, linear speaking, you were before incarnation, or as I would say it, that which you truly are, the all of you. All of me. I give you all of me, yeah. Yes, sometimes we express to each other how much we love each other, and then, words like friendship, no, they don't even come close to what we experience. And even love doesn't even come close to what we experience. She even said, "You feel like a girlfriend, someone who I can share everything with." yeah, this is what usually happens with my girlfriends. At some point, they open up because they can feel, with him, I can just be. I can just be me. I don't need to pretend anymore. Uh, as a matter of fact, it's better if I don't pretend because he will see through it anyway. And yeah, then it would feel like unnatural, distorted. Like I'm wearing masks while he see through the masks. Yeah, so it's kind of pointless, right? I'm not claiming I see through all the masks. Of course, I have my own blind spots, and sometimes I'm also blindsided. Something we learned during the reading, uh, energy reading course. Yeah, I did a course in healing and reading 20, I think 2029, 2010, up to 2016. Yeah, we learned that if you match with someone, you have a match, that's what they call it, then it can very well be that you're not reading the other but reading yourself. Uh, the other becomes a reflection, but you're reading the reflection and not the actually the actual other. These were wonderful courses. I had so much fun exploring these abilities that we all have. We all have them. They're just not trained. They're just not, you know, developed. No, of course, when you go to school, yeah, in Dutch we say it gets knocked out of you, beaten out of you. So, huh? When a kid is doing his tables, is one times one is one, one times two is two, three times three is nine, nine times nine is 81. Then yeah, wow, good, good. And then when someone like me is very creative and says, yeah, but so what if one plus one is three? No, uh, there's no room for fantasy, imagination, fables. Here we stick to the facts. And I was like, what facts? How do you know that's actually a fact? Maybe that's just a belief. And now, I mean, the year 2026. It's to me, it's pretty freaking obvious that we have entered the Aquarius age, the age of Aquarius, where everything will come to light. But at the same time, there's so much illusion, you know, when the veil was lifted. Um, I can imagine people, so many people, becoming confused because all the things you knew to be true were suddenly not so true anymore. Not as solid anymore, not as black and white, or black or white. the state of not knowing. And then, yeah, it starts with, of course, the state of unknowing. You have to unknow so many things. History written in books kind of makes it solid. But yeah, what if it never happened that way? What if history, the past, is not something solid? What if the past also is something fluid, something that can change? The Mandela effect is like a clear example. But yeah, that's just one tiny little bit example of, you know, reality being fluid, time being fluid. What if the past doesn't really exist? We're just recreating the past again and again and again from this now moment. That's, I mean, I can understand people get confused. I can so understand that this might be very difficult period for so many people. And that's why, yeah, people like me, the light bringer, brings his light, shines his light on these matters. Yeah, to make this transition a little bit easier, a little bit, you know, recognizable. Because I'm pretty sure when you were younger, and yeah, all the fantasy and imagination wasn't knocked out of you yet. Yeah, maybe you were really good in facts. Then it must be really hard right now because to me it doesn't seem like facts no longer exist in the state they used to be. We used to think very simple. If you were religious, then God exists. Simple. And whether you call him Allah or Yahweh or Beelzebub or Shiva, Brahman, Vishnu, Anunnaki, your mom, some person you look up to. Or no God at all. That was easy. Yeah, it was easy. You either believe or you don't. And if you believe and the other doesn't, then he's a non believer. You see? Black or white. And yeah, I can clearly sense that only still exists because a large portion of the human collective is still hanging on to those beliefs. But at some point, even even them, they have to let go. Or go crazy. Let's go crazy. Ba-da-ba-da-bam. Prince was revolutionary. Yeah. feels so nice, right? Well, to me it does. I really love yawning. And sighing. Yeah, I love sighing. The system relaxing. Ah, yeah, now I remember Alex asking about the nervous system, what I know about it, or my vision, my experience. The nervous system. The way I could explain it right now is what we see as the brain, and yeah, science still believes that the brain is thinking. I see the brain as the radio. It's just a machine, a, a, an organ, a tool that picks up on the signals already there. Like Wi-Fi is all around us, but only when you look at your phone, you turn on Wi-Fi, then all the signals appear, starting with the strongest, and then you know. So the nervous system, to me, it's the tool which picks up on energy. Yeah. Yeah, I was just sensing it. So the brain is the radio that picks up on radio signals, on thoughts signals, the thought forms that are always present, and the nervous system picks up on energies. So when you enter a room or a space and there's people, or sometimes not even people, you know, maybe there were people. When you move from hotel room to a hotel room, and the night before you entered the hotel room, there was a couple and they had a huge fight, and these, and maybe they stay there for a long period and have fight every day. Then this energy is still there. Uh, Here in Bali, when someone dies in their house and they are like the last person that died in that house, the house will stay empty. So the spirit can live there, and the house often stays empty for years on end, until maybe they feel like, okay, spirit has done his job, moved on, we can use the house again. And sometimes it just stays empty. Or they rent it out to, you know, tourists. No, I don't know. Yeah, so I use my physical body to tune into feelings, emotions. You can, I don't know about you, but I guess you can also clearly notice when you uh, experience an emotion, an emotional state of being, like anger or fear or grief, You can clearly sense it in your physical body. Your physical body, it's like it changes. Yeah, when you get angry or fearful, adrenaline, anxious. Yeah, so I would say the nervous system is tuning into energies, which then can influence the physical body going to anxious mode. When you enter a room and the energies in that room that don't feel really nice, they feel heavy, then yeah, you, your your physical body goes into the state of, you know, you're on guard, you're wary, and you might not be aware of all this. It just happens. But that's how I use these tools. These tools we were given: the physical body, the nervous system, the brain, the mind, the ego, all these other bodies, astral, whatever you want to call it. To me, they're just tools. Tools we can use to tune, to tune into things, to tune into states of being, to tune into, yeah, whatever is appearing in this reality. That's like a whole different way of looking at it, right? Than just the five senses. And some nowadays they even say it's just four senses, because smell and taste are basically one thing. They say. What do you mean numbing the senses? And yeah, this is how these new technologies like AI are actually helpful, or might become helpful, because whatever you see on screen, you pretty much know it's not real. So to discern whether it's real, really real to you, you need other senses than just your eyes. And the senses you think, these five senses or four senses that only exist. You have way more senses. So start using them. Start using your gut feeling. Start using your heart resonance. Start using the heart mind coherence. Learn to fine tune your intuition. Learn to know the difference between intuition and instinct. I think the gut feeling is our instinct, while our heart knowing is more intuition. And then there's the high knowing, done with the higher mind or the higher self. Yeah, so the last few weeks, I noticed all these shifts going on. And these shifts clearly show that if you multiply them, if you add shift to shift, then you just have like two shifts. But if they get multiplied to times 2 is 4. Isn't that the same? Yeah, for me it feels more like 1 plus 1 is 2, and one shift multiplied with one shift creates like 3. Perhaps this is like the Fibonacci. It starts small and then really quickly becomes like big, exponential. That's why time feels like speeding up, or experience speeding up. Time becoming fluid. So experience is like you. I remember clearly some experiences like integrating took a long time, and now sometimes I feel like yesterday on the phone call, she was saying, yeah, there's so much happening right now, and I'm totally okay with it. Where I used to uh, be overwhelmed by all of this, but now she felt like I can just, relax into it. And even though I feel like I don't have enough time, there's not enough time, there's so much to do, she was sighing like all the time, like, ah. While chaos around her, with the dog running away because she forgot the leash again, and the leash. Chaos. Yeah, if you've been used to having control uh, on pretty much everything, and you realize you're not in control of anything, it can feel chaotic. It can seem chaotic, but maybe it's not chaotic. Maybe this is what it always was. You just, you were just living in the illusion of having control. Yeah, it's time for my breakfast.